勇。
I'm 李云珍。
I'm 江梦哲。
I'm 陈冠伦。
I am 朱志远。
Thank you so very much for being here. We are the teenagers from the Society of Organists. Today we are going to share our annual research and communication bit for plastic reduction living. Go my own way, plastic reduction. This is the topic of our research, and it's called 我行我素 in Chinese. Here is the agenda. Our main research data will be in Section 4 and Section 5. Section 1, Self-Introduction. We are Taipei First Group, the Society of Organists, Taiwan. Section 2, Why and What We Do. The beginning of this project. When we heard, government announced plastic reduction policy and employment schedule. As you can see, we will limit the supply in using plastic product by 2020 and totally stop supply in using by 2030. The plastic product include plastic bag, disposable tableware, disposable takeaway drink cup, and plastic straw. As to the policy, we are curious about the feasibility of the policy and difficulties the government may face. How government will implement the plastic reduction policy to consumer and service provider aware of the policy, willing to cooperate. After discussing, we choose this topic as our annual research. In addition, we saw a video on YouTube introducing a zero-waste town in Japan. We are very interested in the town. The town called Kamikaze, and it is located in Shikoku, Tokushima. And here is Kamikaze. What we do. First, we conduct a research to understand the consumer and service provider's opinion on the new policy. Second, we planned a study tour to the Kamikaze, and it was a very successful exchange for both. Third, we share the result to the public. Then, we will send a recommendation to the government. Challenge of action. First, it's not easy for us to conduct a formal study, especially we have to go into the crowd, do interview, and collecting the information by ourselves. Second, we don't know Akira Sakano, board of director, the Zero Waste Academy, and how to connect with her. Third, we don't know if it is possible for us to go to Kamikaze. And the most important thing is we have to read it in English.
Research process and design. The key making policy succeed. Most of people and service providers support government to implement the policy, and the government need to be implement policy continuously for a long time. Actions speak louder than words. Practice the soul into our life. And these are our research objectives. For example, to know how many people and service providers award the policy. The second, consolidate the people and service providers' opinion on the policy. At last, we will provide results and recommendation to the government. And in this chart are our questions to the consumer and service provider. And we finished consumer research in 2018 and service provider in 2019. And we had a questionnaire. It can be divided into two parts. One is for general consumer, the other one is for service provider. We also have two approaches. One is internet survey, the other one is street interview. Both of them are focusing on the general consumer. For service provider, we interview them by face-to-face. And we had hoped we can collect 1,000 questionnaire for public, 10 for stores. But actually we collected 850 in total. There are 650 by internet, and there are 200 people accept our research. And we had 12 interviews. They including multinational collaboration, vendors, and restaurants. And we did a street interview in Dan Park and Hwasan Creative Park. And we interviewed the most famous fast food chain stores and Tongteki. The situation we face about respondents, they refuse to answer our question. They have no time to answer, and they pretend to be unheard. More seriously, they view us a scam group. About a service provider, when we are interviewing McDonald's, they are professional and experienced. They not just respond, they will question us and let us to reflect.
Section 4, Result Finding. First is about consumer. Most of our respondents are students and office workers, because the most of them are the member of the Society of the Wilderness, our friends or our classmates. And also that's why their age are in two areas, under 19 and 35 to 64 years old. According to a lab chart, it shows around 60% of respondents are aware of the policy, but there are still 42% of respondents don't know the policy, especially the group under 19. We think maybe teenagers often pay attention on online games, social media, and school tests, and adults pay more time to focus on the news and internet affairs. In addition, as you can see, people who ever join the green group know the policy better than people who never join the green group. And here we can see almost every respondent support the policy, but there are only 44% of respondents think the policy will succeed. And we found out that there are over 50% of respondents in the age under 19 don't think the policy will succeed. It is the highest among the group. Next is about the environmentally friendly tableware people usually carry. Number 1 is straw sticks. Taiwanese like to buy handmade drinks and use straw, but there are only 17% of respondents will bring straw. So there will be over 80% of respondents will take plastic straw when they buy their drinks.
So, there were some conclusions about service providers' interview. Do they support the policy? The answer is yes. Like McDonald's big chain stores, CSR, corporate social responsibility is important to them. And also, protect the environment is the thing they should do. About small stores, they say they will follow the policy, but still some stores didn't know it. I guess most of us don't know the number of straws consumed by McDonald's. They use 400,000 a day, so that means if you multiply it by 365 days, the number of straws consumed accounts almost 5% of Taiwan a year. To make Taiwan a better place, McDonald's have taken some action to solve the problems. They wanted to change people's habits of drinking and sorting the trash. So they used some humorous ways, simple categories, and icons to solve the problem. Just like the action they take recently. They put an empty box at the order place and said the straws were retired. And also 3 steps. 清, 分, 丢 is important. If one person follow the step, he can easily and quickly sort the trash. But if one person didn't, other people will litter the trash without classifying. So these were the interventions that McDonald's have done in these years. In 2008, they had shortened the spoons from 19 centimeters to 15 centimeters, reducing about 33% of plastic. And now they wanted to change people drinking habits, let people drinking without straws. But they still have some difficulties they need to overcome. Just like McDonald's, maybe they have some impolite customers or elders who need straws to drink. Like small stores have some cost consideration or impulse buyers. And this is the garbage collection that we visited in this February in Kamikaze. But why Kamikaze? Because in our questionnaire statistic as shows, many people in Taiwan unsure if the policy will succeed. So we wanted to know why the resident there can make such a high percentage of garbage recycling. So the garbage collection have 45 categories, clear classifications, clean and odorless. And also these were some pictures that we taken in Japan. The man in the left picture is the docent who take us to the garbage collection and explain what Kamikaze has done in these years. On every classifications, they put cute illustrations, price per kilogram. And the important thing is, if the circle on the right side is green, that means you can earn some money from doing garbage recycling. But if the circle on the right side is red, that means you need to pay extra money to the recycling vendor. We not only visited Kamikaze, but also observed Japanese trash can. So we list some different parts between two countries. As you can see, the trash can in Japan got transparent part in front of it, and also the hole is designed. If the hole is circle, that means you can only throw cans or bottles in it. If the hole is flat rectangle, that means you can only throw newspapers or magazine. So these two different parts are the important thing I think Taiwan can learn.
And now I'm going to make some conclusion and to give some recommendations. First, the interview of consumer. Under the age of 19 is the highest group who don't know the policy, so we will keep disseminating, especially for students. Second, reach up to 97% of the consumer support the policy, but more than half of them are unsure if it will succeed. So the government have to show their efficiency to carrying out the policy in order to win people's trust. Last, 60% of the consumer have the habits of carrying environmentally friendly tableware, and the percentage of carrying eco-friendly straws is under 20%. So developing eco-friendly stuffs, those are more easier to carry and wash, such as the straw made of metal or glass. And about service provider, when a big company starts to change, so will the other company follow their steps, as you can see from this table. About trash can. In Taipei, the trash can in public are decreasing. Maybe the left of them can refer to Japan's design. However, we found that the recycling ratio is 58% and the waste recovery is only 4.86%. How to shorten the gap between them is the issue that we need to discuss and fix out. And from the experience of Kamikaze, we can try to reducing mold like it in the small community, such as Linlixiang in Taiwan. For us, the consumer, times change, so must we. Believe that we are all capable of the most incredible change to make our earth better. And now is your chance. How about it? And our next step will be Zero Plastic Declaration. First, we will share our experience in public, and second, we will lobby sign Zero Plastic Use Declaration in advance in 20 local governments and 513 high schools, such like this. And this is the end of our project. So thanks for your listening.
Your
your project proposal is really good because you're learning other good practice. But you know, the Japan, their culture and their kind of residency awareness for this issue is start from the roots. So they start from the education. So it's good that you probably need to promote your ideas to. You just mentioned that you're going to promote to the elementary school for education. And but the zero plastic is that feasible? Then you probably need to think about it because we still plastic is kind of a common goal, right? So it's very convenient and but they cause another environmental issue. So zero probably will not the best solution. You probably need to think the second best solution. Probably later on you will learn from the because I'm the econ professor. I teach in the public finance. So there will not have a first best solution, but there will be the second best. And zero plastic probably not the best solution for ours.
So you mentioned in the presentation you have a challenge when you first learn about the zero waste town, right? You plan to make a visit, but you don't know anyone. But eventually, it seems like you make a trip. So how do you eventually connect with that village?
We sent an email to Akira Sakano and connect with her by Facebook.
Wow, and you made it. Great. And so as soon as you start taking actions, and you may probably bring a different, something big to do. So good action for you to take. The second one is that you just mentioned a lot of people have doubts if the policy will succeed. And did you find out why they doubt? Where do the doubts come from? And eventually, what do you plan to do to reduce the doubts? Because you say eventually you want to have more people sign up to have the zero waste. But if you don't reduce the doubts, signing up is one thing, and really if they can execute is another, right? So along this way, how do you plan to reduce the doubts? You need to know why there's doubts first. So do you have any finding on this area?
The reason why we choose to face to the consumer is that we can talk to them and understand what they think about the policy. So after the survey, we can tell them what's the good things about reduced plastic, and we can develop this policy to them. And our next step will be also developing this idea to the public, such like we have film videos and post it on YouTube to let the younger stage, because most of the students seems like they don't know this policy. So YouTube is kind of good media to show the policy and the idea to them.
So the question is not about knowing the policy. The question is about how to do that in real life, right? So I understand this is a good thing, but sometimes I feel difficult to implement the actions. And what are the difficulties? So for me, maybe I don't know where to buy the environmental friendly tableware, or just too troublesome. So how do you help me solve the problem so make it handy for me to easy to do it?
I think maybe we can try to collect all the information of such like the tableware, where we can buy the tableware. And also because we know that the government had declared the policy of ban the use of straws, but they didn't actually tell how to change the use of straws. So maybe we can tell, and we will send our project to that the government knows. Maybe they can show their idea or their ways to tell people what other measures we can use straws like metal straws or glass straw and something like that. Thank you.
Okay, I think you have done a great job on the background information collection, such as the very thorough market survey, and which help you to gain a lot of information. However, I think those results are, people already know the result. I mean, it's not far away from our imagination or expectation. So the purpose of making the survey is to know how awareness level, that's it?
We wanted to do this survey is because the government has the policy.
Yeah.
Tell people you cannot use straws. So we wanted to know that if people can't use straws, what influence them? What the policy influence them?
Okay, because I think you have spent 90% of your time to explain the result from the survey, but I only see very few percentage of your presentation about the action. And then I saw the action point is to roll out to schools, right? Can you look at the last second page? Maybe I'm not sure which one, but you have seen that you have saying that you would like to roll out something to again. Okay, yeah. So that's your next step. Sharing the how to. It doesn't look clear to me how to do that because it's easier to say than done. So, and how do you promote to other schools and 20 local governments? It seems very ambitious. 20 local governments and 500 something schools, right? It's very ambitious. So how do you do that?
Maybe we'll start this from our schools because each of school have their lecture times to give some lecturer to tell the students what they have experienced. So maybe we can try this. And also, I think the whole survey is also an action of what we've done because it's a long learning process for us. This is a long learning process for us. So we want to know from zero to know what different people think of this policy and different dimensions of their thinking and thoughts. Thank you.
I think that going from a lot to zero is a huge step. But if you can track it down, reducing, and eventually go to zero, it will be also a success. Just do it phase by phase.
Thank you for your suggestion.